So we really tried to get in the minds of the leaders that we would be trying to influence, and started with executive leadership and said, what do they care about? Like, how can we get to a spot where we can practice empathy in their direction? So we know that they're dealing with competing priorities, and they're trying to measure results. They're trying to manage risk, which can sometimes be in conflict with trying to deliver innovative value, and creating a engaging workplace, and that is the welcome to Happy Town. They encounter a number of issues as well. So there's way too much work. There's always way more demand than there is capacity. Digital. So digital is everywhere. It's a growth engine for a lot of organizations, and the pace at which that's changing tends to be extremely rapid and challenging. Things take too long. So often the value stream is impacted and things take a long time. They have a lot on their plate. So everything is an urgent priority, and managing all of that, and then being a talent magnet again. So we kind of broke it up into two different audiences, really looking at executive leadership and then middle management as well. And yesterday I had shared that although we chose to kind of target these audiences, really the tactics and the approach can be leveraged across any role within your organization. But from middle managers care about a lot of the same things. They're trying to attract and retain talent. They're trying to balance new features and technical debt. So how do you get momentum in both of those? And again, like collaboration and bringing people together and focusing on shared outcomes. They're constantly getting their budget cut, which is probably familiar to a lot of people, and figure out how to do more with less. And trying to make the implicit explicit, which I think is an ongoing challenge for that role in the organization. And often transitioning, you've kind of heard these themes across some of the talks so far around insourcing, so having less reliance on whether it's contractors or outsourcing, and then figuring out how to empower the workforce. And a lot of what we were going after with this forum doc was around how do you go after the growth mindset and really articulate that in a meaningful way for people. How do you go from controlling change to really embracing it? It's one of the kind of from to that shows up in the document. From command and control to empowerment. How do you go from thinking in more of a functional, siloed way into more of a value stream approach and thinking? Going from being all about cost and optimizing for cost to really optimizing for value and speed to value. Going from really like we said hoarding resources, but this is my space to really sharing and experimenting and being okay with blurring the boundaries between teams and focusing on those shared outcomes. And now Jeff's going to take you through some of the tactics that show up in the document and focus on that.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. So if you're in this room, you probably already believe that there's something that this whole DevOps thing that could probably have benefit for you and for your organization. And like it or not, you are also probably the change agents, or at least some of the change agents within your own organization. So raise your hand. This is a totally safe place. Raise your hand if you've ever dealt with a middle manager or an executive who's ever pushed back on a suggestion or a recommendation you've made to change the way that you're doing things. Yes, we are talking to you. This session and this product, this working group paper is totally for you. So as Courtney mentioned, we wanted to set the paper up to help us all appreciate and understand better what these different perspectives are within the organization, the executive, the middle manager, what they care about, what they're trying to achieve, and the issues that get in their way, to help build some of that empathy and be able to relate better to their perspective. So that's the start. The next step is to try using some tactics and applying some tactics to get some movement within the organization, to get some space and time and money and resources to be able to make small improvements and build that momentum and build that success. So we've provided a lot of different tactics that are in the paper. In fact, I think there's something like 23 of them that you can use to help in your organization to get some of that space and time and resources. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all to any of these things. This is kind of a choose-your-own-adventure when it comes to building the transformation roadmap, as it were, within your organization, what things you want to try out. This is one of them that we see a lot, and we've seen it have a lot of success in organizations, and that's value stream mapping. So getting everybody together to understand what it takes to go from, as Mark Schwartz used to call it, the aha to ka-ching, what it takes to go from feature to value in production, and getting everybody with the same common operating picture and situational awareness. Connecting strategy, tactics, and operation, making sure that there's line of sight from the quote-unquote top of the organization in terms of what the strategy and results and major objectives are, all the way down to the boots on the ground, the people who are pushing forward and putting the stuff into action. And then that there's feedback loop from the bottom all the way to the top, or from the outside back to the inside, so that all of that is connected, from strategy, from tactics, down to the operations. Making work visible. This is a classic lean practice. How do you manage the work if you don't know what the work is? And how do you expose that work to people who are not only doing the work, but people who are impacted by the work, people who need to manage the work? How do you create the feedback loops that are involved in doing the work? And how do you put the continuous improvement practices in place if you don't understand the work that is actually being done? There was a long list of people, really, really smart people who have been there, who have done that, who've had success in creating movement and change within organizations. That's the list, led by our fearless leader here, Courtney. And so there's a lot of really good stuff in there. Case studies, tactics, things that are challenging, things that you will probably nod your head up and down and say, yes, this is something that we need to be doing, and stuff that you may kind of cock your head and say, huh, that you may need to talk some more about. But it's a lot of great resources, we think, and hopefully will be helpful to all of you.